Here, we on? Oh, I need a pen. You know what? I don't know why I always feel better with a pen in my hand. Like Zazoo. You see that? Hi, Leslie Plazz here. Zazoo Plazz, uh, July 21st, 2024. Zazoo Plazz report. Look at this. If you notice, she's got a little pad and her phone and some pens in one pocket. And she's got her cooking utensils in the other one. That's like me. So, you know, I'm figuring her out a little bit. At first it was harder, but now I'm getting more insights as to her real nature. See, half the time she's cooking, she's in the material world. She's a material girl. she's taking care of everybody in a practical way. And the other half time, she's part-time. Part-time, she's taking all these notes and, sharing these little insights. See? So this Zazoo she's my alter ego. She's my best version of myself, my highest, you know. And she's got many layers. But, I'm figuring it out. She's really a much better, much more fun person than I am. I strive to be, more like her. Every day I'm getting a little bit closer. Like Cheryl Cross. Anyway. Oh, it's going to be interesting today. So stay tuned through the end. I have a lot to talk about. Oh, it's the end of Mercury and Leo. I gotta get it off my chest, man. I got things, and it's Capricorn full moon. So I'm working hard. Just like Mark 6, Jesus and his apostles, they're working really hard. They have to go away and have a little vacation. I feel like I got too much work to do. That now is a good time. Get it in during July, and then August I feel like is a better time for maybe I'll go away and take a little vacation in August. But right now is a good time to get stuff done. Planetary energy is much better in July. August is going to be, from what I've heard, when your stars. So, welcome. Where was I? Okay. First, a little chatty news about the week. Oh my God. Okay. Capricorn, goats, and sheep. We're in again with the Bible and the sheep. They talk, but okay, people, it's a metaphor, okay? The people at the time were, they knew sheep. In that part of the world, they knew boats, they knew sheep, they knew, those kinds of basic things, right? So, you can't take things, literally. I just had some conversations online today. But I learned something, everyone, and it doesn't really bother me anymore. But, it does make me think about, other people's, where other people are coming from and their views, that some people take the Bible quite literally. And, I've had a lot of theology classes and 12 years of Catholic school. And I think I've learned more in my own studies into the spiritual world than I did in the whole time that I was in Catholic school, because they teach you one thing. They teach you this way, you memorize this, you know your Bible stories. And even when I was teaching my kids CCD, I was still sort of taking things literally at that point. I taught them for 11 years. And because that was what I had been taught, see? And so, looking at the kids' books, you have to put things in terms that little kids can understand. And it's the same way with people. The Bible was written in a form, the parables were told in a way that people who are, who have a very simple understanding, because that's all they could, grasp, or those. But then when you grow in your spirituality, then you start to hear things differently. You're like, wait a minute. You start putting things together, and you start seeing the truth. You start decoding some of these stories. It's very interesting. So keep that in mind. Yeah, most times I just wing it, but it all comes together. I take these notes, I read the reading for the day, I pick the song, I tie it all together, and then I come and spew it before I get bored and move on to something else. This is how I work, folks. All right, so I gotta give you the news of the week while I'm doing this. So my kid, the older one, fortunately before the big crash this past Friday, Saturday, that took down like airports, he got out. He got out to Europe like just days before all this happened. So my kid comes Thursday night before the big crash of all the systems that hit a lot of companies and the airports, even our airport in Connecticut here. So the kid comes over. He's like, Mom, they're. He says, that he's been training with the state fire crew. They go and send the people, fire crews out west or wherever to fight wildfires. If the local crews need help. So my kid said, he went and he bought all the stuff on his list. He needed like black t-shirts. He needed special socks. He's got his special boots. He had to buy all this stuff with his own money. And I was proud of him. He went, he found all this stuff, and he even set up. They offered him you get a certain percentage off at the department store near us. And so he actually fell for the whole, if you open a card with us today, we'll give you 30% off or whatever. I'm like, no, you didn't fall for that. He's like, oh my God. You mean it's like a credit card? He's like, they asked me for all my numbers and everything. I'm like, well, duh. I said, that's not a store card, kid. That's a credit card. He says, well, I already paid it off. I'm like, good. So I'm like, okay, I think we did a good job with these kids. And I said, well, it's actually a pretty good thing, as long as you pay off your. Anyway, that's a side story. But, every now and then you get a glimmer that you did something right as a parent. It's kind of rewarding. It takes a while to get there, though. So he comes over, and then he says, yeah, so basically, he wasn't supposed to ship out till after, like, August 9th. But he said, there's a fire in Oregon, somewhere in he said first it was Southern Oregon that he was going to have to go. But when he came to visit me, he didn't know. But this story, it gets better. He's looking out my back door. He says, Mom, you've got an invasive plant growing back there. He says he named it the scientific name or whatever, but I looked it up. It's called the tree of heaven. And it's an extremely invasive, like weed that, spreads. And it can attract this also invasive bug called the lanternfly. And he's like, oh, that's really bad. He said, when I worked at the DEP in the state, we didn't have that invasive insect or weed. I mean, maybe we did, but it wasn't the insect we didn't have. So now we have new invasive insects, apparently. So he's keeping me up to speed on these things, which is good because when I worked at the agency, I was in the communications department and I had to, I was the one on Facebook, for the state, for the commissioner's office, telling everybody about, informing them about these invasive plants and animals and insects, and, how to avoid spreading them and who to notify if you have them. And that's what we did. That was great. So, I like keeping up to speed on this stuff. So he's doing that. So he calls me the next day. He's like, I got called up. And then the big crash happened. And then they said, oh, wait, you can't. He was all set to fly out, like that next morning. And he's like, he said, they canceled my flight because because the computers went down. So it's great. So I said, okay, pivot, mom, pivot, pivot. Woo. Anyway, um, so okay. So now he's flying out Tuesday at 2 in the morning or 4 in the morning or something like that. Anyway, so that's that. And and then, so it's okay. So he was going to he was going to move, that was the thing. He was going to move into his new place. He's going into his senior year. So he's got the apartment. He's like, Mom, I need to borrow your van. You know, he thought that he was going to have to, first he was going to do it now. And then he got, oh, okay, I'll do it when I come back. And so now he has to go out later. So I said, well, he and his dad basically took my minivan all weekend to move into his new place because he doesn't have to ship out right away. And he's like, oh, I'm so, he said, this really stinks. Because he said, I was all psyched up mentally to go. Now I have to wait. I'm like, okay, Mom, just listen, just hear him out. And I said, well, sweetie, sometimes the way the universe works, God, source, whatever, maybe if you had gone, something would have happened. It might not have been, they're protecting you. I said, so whenever something weird happens like that, it's Uranus. I think it's Mars, Uranus or something. Or, Pluto, Aquarius has to do with technology and stuff. Um, yeah, I'm not good at the details here, but I sense that electrical stuff, things just suddenly happening. That's the way things go these days. So I'm thinking, okay, well, somebody is looking out for my kid because I feel really at ease now thinking of him going out. When he was first telling me about it, I felt uneasy. And I put it in the little box, the little mom worry box, that one. And I sent light around it, and I sent pillars of light where he was going and did all my visualizing. But I still felt a little like, oh, I don't know, this is going to happen. And then all of a sudden, this happened, and I'm like, okay, now he can go. Because I feel really at ease about him going. And he's like, oh, there's mountains in this new place that I have to go. And, he's like, oh, well, I'm going to have to get a disposable camera. He said, I want to take pictures. I'm not really supposed to take pictures, but I want to take pictures. That's my boy. Don't tell anybody. Anyway, but, so yeah, he's a superhero. He told me when he was little, when I was working for the DEP, he's like, Mom, firefighters are real superheroes. And I said, well, there's other kinds of superheroes. But he said, they're real heroes, firefighters. And I said, well, yeah, you're right. They really are. And, they go into these, it's hot. And my kid is going to go 15 miles into the woods carrying all this heavy equipment. And there's no cell phones. He can't use his cell phone. Now, you talk about Gen Z. This is Gen Z, okay? They're not all on social media trying to start trouble. Some of them are, going to put out fires and trying to do good things. So, anyway, just a little plug there for Gen Z. They're our kids. We love them. Anyway, everybody's got their, thing to do, right? Their cross to bear. Okay. Oh, and then the other thing is so I don't have my minivan, right? I have my former spouse's demon car. I call it the demon car because it hates me. It's got bad vibes. It just hates me. Every time I go out in that car, I never liked it. And lights start flashing, stuff starts happening, and I said, I've got Mars aspects. I'm not taking that thing. I'll wait for my minivan and go out and get myself a new Keurig because the old one, the mini one I bought, just bit the dust. It was making this noise every time I'd make coffee. It would go after it would go because I make a lot of tea and coffee. A writer should have a better Keurig. I should have a real coffee maker. So I'm like, this is the universe upgrading me from that little mini Keurig, which is fine if you just want a cup like in a hotel room. But I mean, come on, I need my coffee and tea. I think I just wore it out today. I made my morning tea, and then after my workout, I went to make my coffee, and it starts smoking. Smoke. I'm like, oh, I don't remember smoke coming out of coffee. And so I picked up I went online, I said, oh, it's not good. My coffee maker's smoking. They're like, oh, unplug your coffee maker as soon as possible. If it starts smoking, that's not a good sign. Like, oh. So I cleaned the whole thing. I took the paper clip and jammed it up there, and I descaled it and rinsed it out. And I made another cup of coffee because I dumped the first one out because I thought maybe something was wrong with it. But I said, oh, damn it, I need my coffee. So I made another cup. It still smoked, but maybe a little bit less. I even moved the outlet. I put it in a different outlet, but it's still smoking. Well, maybe I'll just look around for a better one. I did get one of the stores sent me a $10 off coupon at the big box store where I got my TV. So maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll just get one there. Moving up, I'm going to get the nice coffee maker. We had one at the house that we were all using, and it was an old one. We had it forever, and it would break sometimes. And it was kind of clunky. All of us were using it, and the boys finally they switched to the regular coffee pot because they said it. They turned up their nose at our Keurig coffee. They said, "No, you gotta use the it's more environmentally conscious. You gotta get." And they got like the Firehouse coffee and the fancy, kind with like the I don't know, Irish cream or some kind of brand. I don't know, cherry something, fancy coffee. Like, what if you just want a cup? But anyway, that's for another week. We'll see what happens. See what I can find. Okay, so we got shepherds. That's the news for the week. We got Jeremiah here. He's talking about woe to the shepherds who mislead and scatter the flock. So there's, it's justice here. In other words, we're talking about, God sending his army of workers, his his shepherds, his special people, his light workers, whatever. He's talking about, people who will gently, bring the flock back from where they've been misled all over the place. They're calling them back home. Right? So this is happening. And then, and about governing wisely, right? So whoever this person is, the workers, many people, and then one, what we're thinking, Christ, right? In the end, there will be wise governing, is what it says. So that's interesting. And then we go to Psalm. If that wasn't, upbeat and peppy enough, we got Psalm 23, which they read at funerals. The Lord is my shepherd, there's nothing I shall want. The right paths, leading me through the dark valley and not fearing because his rod and his staff. And thinking, okay, Capricorn moon. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is the, is like the Grim Reaper, right, with the rod and the staff. You know, the Reaper like, harvesting, and that whole image. So you gotta think astrologies. It's all connected here. Oh, and then we have Chiron going retrograde in Aries, and Aries is the ram, sheep, right? So astrology and the Bible, they're all intertwined. They don't want you to know that. It's very interesting. Um, yeah. So there's that, right? Um, and governing in the this whole king governing images. That's Leo. Ruling. That's the king is Leo. So um, shining the sun. Just creative energy. Okay, so you got that. Um, the right past the dark valleys, the dark tunnels. No, okay. And then the Ephesians about Christ, about breaking the divide, in one person versus two. It seems that we've been for a long time divided in a couple of different worlds, going back and forth, the old world to the new world. And it's talking about the Christ energy. Breaking the divide is the duality, just going back, we're all going to live, in this one world, this one energy, of truth and of love, unconditional love and all this. And I think where there's no fear, the fear, is looking back is fear, and looking ahead, or fear, and then looking back and regret and all those lower energy, guilt, right? Those are the lower energies that we're moving away from. All right. So I'm reading all this, and the song that kind of popped in my head before I even started doing the Zazoo report. I'm like, dun, dun, dun. One thing leads to another. It just popped in my head. I don't know. I was in the bathroom or something. Oh, Fix. That was a great song. The summer between high school and college. August. Yeah, August of '83. Fix. One thing leads to another. So I'm like, oh, that's like karma. That's like Saturn and the whole, it fits, Ephesians, we will have access in one spirit to the Father. Okay, so then this was the final bit of it that really convinced me that was the song, because they said, we will have access in one spirit to the Father, meaning we're not going to need these middlemen, these people. We'll be masters of our own, responsible for our own energy, for our own spirits, in the body, in this physical vessel, and that's the Christ light that flows through each one of us, from what I understand. So we will, but the thing is, for centuries we've been told that, there hasn't been enough energy on the planet for us to realize that we all have access to God, not just certain designated people, right? Who, and there have been many, right? Gurus, leaders, false prophets, people who, tried to, who were threatened by the real prophets, the ones who were trying to, get through to the people. A lot of these false leaders, throughout history, various disguises have, been leading the sheep astray, right? So people have been led astray. They've been talked out of their power, right? Their birthright as children of God, right? We all are. But, everybody's got their own personal path to walk. In other words, we're all sheep, we're all over the place, right? There's not just one, we're going to be one big flock. It's not for that group over there, those people over there. That's what we've been led astray, right? And, divided. Okay, so it makes sense. So the apostles, yeah, they're all working hard. Jesus says, we need a rest. We need to replenish our energy, right? Because they were healing people, and they're getting drained, right? They have to eat and integrate and refresh. So they take off to go to some this desert island, some little place, and then the paparazzi find out about it. The media finds out about it, tells everybody, and they go and they beat them there. So Jesus and the apostles get out of the boat. There's all these people waiting there. He felt sorry for them, you know, like sheep without a shepherd. He said, right? And it's a little bit like that. So they're, good, innocent people can easily be swayed by, dishonest types, right? So okay, so this is why the fix, because this song is perfect, all right, just quickly. I mean, and then Jesus started to teach them, right? So but today, you know, you don't have to get in a boat. We go online, we get messages everywhere, whether it's in nature, whether it's online, you can get messages anywhere. So, okay, so this is ironic because, okay, the Fix was an English new wave band, right? Early 80, like 83 was like their big. They had a few really good hits. This song, it was from Reach the Beach. That's the name of the album. It got to number 4 in the U.S. Hot 100, November of '83, my 18th birthday. Number 2 on the top tracks. Cy Kernan, vocal. He described the song as an indictment of dishonest politicians. In its poppy up-tempo feel contrasted with the serious, sober subject. And in the video, it's so cool because, one of the guys in the band, he's in the science lab. It starts off. And MTV, I saw this when it came out. And his new dimensions, talks about new dimensions. Perfect. That's where we're going. And there was a wrist shackle, like prisoners, up, and that was on the cover of their album, Reach the Beach. And it was in the video. And, then he's like looking through a microscope and he sees all these things, right? And then the other guy, whatever, the singer, he's running in tunnels, like black tunnels. He's in a suit, you know, in the dark valley. He's in this dark tunnel. It's perfect in the suit. Then he's in a bright tunnel, wearing like a gray, like sleeveless. He's more exposed, right? So, and then he's at the end. There's these dogs. We can watch it. There's these dogs, like sniffing out, like the drug sniffing dogs and stuff. And they come and they're chasing him out. And so one thing leads to another. It's kind of like karma. Tell me something wrong, I listened too long. That's how I feel if I watch the news. Like I listened too long to this. And I have to get it out of my system, right? Run for cover in the heat. Why don't they? Do what they say. Say what they mean. It's perfect. So at the end of the video, they can see all the way through the tunnel, right? That's what we're in. We're in the tunnel right now. I feel like I'm in it. But, okay, for misheard lyrics, okay? The wrong antidote is like I used to think it said a bone in the throat. It was a bulge in the throat. Bone in the throat. That's like Saturn rules the bones, huh? And I still think it's bone in the throat, but it's a bulge in the throat. Whatever. Men have Adam's apples. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Adam, he is kind of trying to tell us about Adam. The Adam's apple, Adam and the apple, the whole part of you. That's, I don't know. Whew, that's enough Zazoo. Got smoke coming out of my ears today. But, okay, those are my insights on that song. Yeah, pretty good, I think. I think I did a good job this week. I do say so myself. Thank you for watching all the way through. Zazoo's on her little throne this week. Anyway, yeah, I gotta go get a new coffee maker. I can't be without my coffee. really need to figure this. Yeah. So yeah. Until next week. I'm gonna go work on the coffee thing. A lot of other things got taken care of this week. There's always something. You know, one thing just leads to another. You know how it goes. So, till next week, Zazoo Plazz signing out. Hope it's a good one. Maybe, go somewhere and take a little rest. You worked hard. I think I will. Maybe buy myself a nice coffee maker. Till next week, Zazoo Plazz signing out. Take care. Bye bye.